Hi, Lori. I'm so glad that you're here to meet with me today about Expect the Unexpected with Choco, the sea star.
Hi, Nan. It's great to see you. I'm excited to talk about Choco. I thought it was a great book, and I'm interested to hear your perspective on it and offer some of my perspective.
Great, great, perfect. That's the goal. For our listeners, Lori is a nurse practitioner, pediatrics. She's got 20 years of experience and she's worked inpatient, outpatient. And do you want to share any more about that?
No, just as a pediatric nurse practitioner, we're medical, but we also have a really strong foundation in childhood growth and development, and I think that's where the pediatric nurse practitioner kind of fits in the context of today's conversation.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's why I wanted you to share your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
You've seen many, many kids.
Yes, over the 20 years, we quite a few visits.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm Nan Arkwright. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. And so I've written the book about Choco, the chocolate chip sea star. And Choco, I'll share my screen now and just do a quick review of um, the story for anybody is not familiar with it. So here's Expect the Unexpected. And so, Laurie, I'm sure with your practice that you've run up against this many, many times with kids just never they're so unprepared for things that happen when they're not expecting it to happen. It's just part of life. It's hard for us too as adults, but this is something that I hear so much about from the families I work with, and how well things go when parents are able to preview what to expect. But that works great when you know what to expect. But when no one is expecting something to happen, that's when things are harder. And so I think I went through the story and I had Choco experiencing time after time after time all these unexpected things because I think that's what their days are really like. From what they share with me is that they didn't get to sit next to their friend in the cafeteria. They didn't get to be first when the teacher called on them. They didn't get called on when they raised their hand. All those things, and they just have these ideas in their head of how things are going to go, and they don't always go the way they expect. And then they come home and they think that they are going to get to play video games, and that's not what happens, and that's hard for them, and they don't get the dinner that they were hoping to have, all those kinds of things. It's just a long list of unexpected things, and we as adults come home sometimes at the end of the day and like, wow, that was a lot that went on today that I wasn't prepared for, and it's exhausting, and then you have to recover from it all. And so Chaka, what I'm trying to do in the story is really help Choco understand that he can pause, he can calm with the help of someone who's there to help him, and then he can um, solve the problem and then grow from it. And so that's kind of what happens in each one of the little scenarios until he's able to do that on his own from practicing enough. So
Yeah, I
go ahead, Laurie.
I in my first read of the book, I was kind of thinking more about Chaco and how all these things happened to him unexpectedly. And I think I realized that that's what the book was going to be about, given the title. But a lot of times, I think when we're in that situation with our kids and we're frustrated by their behavior, or we're trying to just kind of move from point A to point B, as parents or as practitioners, we may not be realizing that our kids are experiencing the unexpected. So I think the bigger, like the 10,000-foot view on this is not just for kids expecting the unexpected, but as parents, that we need to have that insight that our kids are experiencing something that they're not expecting, or they're experiencing something different from we expected them to experience.
Such a great point, Laurie. And sometimes we have no idea. Like there's still so many times when a child does something and I have no idea why they're reacting that way because of just what you said. And if they
Right. But that
tell us.
Yeah, exactly. If we have this insight that they're experiencing something unexpected, then that helps us also in our approach to them to help them with the tools that Choco's mom is helping him with.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps us have more empathy too. if
Sure.
we realize they're 5 or they're 3 or they're 8 even, like this
Yeah,
is all still brand new to them. They have not been on the planet very long. So there's a lot of unexpected things that happen to them in a day. So we
absolutely.
won't go through every single scenario, but this is scenario where happens all the time. Don't forget to get your shoes. Don't forget to get your backpack. Don't forget to get your gift. And they remember one of the 3 things. And because it's a long list and they're just thinking about the birthday party and how much fun they're going to have. And so, of course, the first incident is that he uh, realizes he forgot the birthday present, and also he's under sensory overload here with all these fish moving around. So that's like us as adults with crowds and so many kids. Birthday parties are so busy these days, loud, lots of people, lots of adults, lots of times, and it can be overwhelming for kids. And that's kind of why, I mean, all of these are handpicked scenarios from things that I see with families that I'm working with. And so he's you can see he's like, mom, this is too much for me. And so she's helping him. And that's the idea of trying to offer ideas for what and model for adults, like how can we help kids when they run up against some of these things. So again, similar to what you said, Laurie, like expect the unexpected with our child. Expect that they're going to be surprised and be prepared to be there for them, to be their comfort in that moment because they don't have the tools themselves. So they really are reliant on us as adults to provide that for them. And lots and lots and lots and lots of practice being able to access those tools, or actually that takes a lot of practice, but being able to respond to the tools that the parents suggest, and then later being able to come up with those ideas that, oh, I know what I could do. So one of the key things I tried to do in the story, as well as highlighted in the little activities that we'll talk about soon, is the idea that there are a lot of strategies to use. So if kids can keep those in mind, if adults can keep those in mind, it will help. So you're not having to think on your feet. And that's what I think is hard. So it's like a little cheat sheet for adults working with the children, but also for kids. Like, let's look at these and see what we'll do in case this happens. Or, oh, this has happened. Let's remember we have a tool for that. Those kinds of things. But I think that the strategies that Choco ends up using in this on his mom's suggestion are real life scenario strategies that people can use. So we just go through different things, and this one, he gets. I hear kids all the time. They fall down and they think, "Oh, did I break my arm?" And they don't know. I mean, that's just part of being a little kid. You don't know what breaking your arm feels like. So that's where that idea came from. Like, yeah, it's a small owie, and it doesn't mean it's a broken arm, but that's sometimes a insight into the size of the problem. The child doesn't know. Is this a big problem? Did I break my arm? Or is this just a small problem that I need a Band-Aid for? And they don't always know, like, how should I react to this?
Right.
And of course, I tried to plug healthy eating and healthy exercise and things like that. So trying to give messages, trying to educate kids about the Galapagos, where the story takes place, as well as just other things that will help kids, like this one about, oh, well, if you are not staying with the group, and you'll get distracted by something, other kids or other sea stars, other fish are having a different experience from you. And then there may be something that happens differently for you than for everybody else. And fortunately, with his mom's guidance, Choco was able to figure out, oh, yeah, I got distracted by those beautiful seahorses, didn't get to see them. And so I'm late for my snack for the birthday party. So he's dealing with that upset. And then, so we go through several more similar to that. He doesn't get to sit next to Sharko, and of course, he doesn't want to sit next to the birthday shark. And his mom helps him recover from that one. And then it's time to go, but everybody's getting the birthday party bag, and he doesn't get the color he wants. And he remembers all the things that happened to him in that short period of time. And his mom reminds him, but what did you do every time you were able to pause, get the support you needed, be able to go back into the situation and have fun and grow from it. So that's basically the highlights of the book. He then eventually is able to like go back to Choco's house the next day and give him his present, but on the way, of course, it breaks when he falls, and he doesn't fall apart. He's had the experience and the practice now to realize, I can handle this. I know what to do.
Yeah. Well, it's such a great story overall. Just because each and everything is as minor as it may seem to us, is really having a big impact on Chaco. But the continuity piece here is his mom and her presence and her knowing when to sort of step in and step back is wonderful. We don't see Chaco mom, you know, unattentive to him. She's giving him space. She's letting him make the mistakes. She's letting him make choices. But she's kind of steering him in the right direction as needed. And I love that, there are pictures where you see her kind of there and tending to him, and other pictures where we don't see her at all. He's off kind of doing his thing. And I just love her role in the story. I think that whether it's a teacher or a nurse practitioner, a therapist, a parent, a child life specialist, I think that a lot of us can not only, appreciate what Choco's going through, but just being in the role of Choco's mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Laurie, for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that came through because that was my goal. The role the parent has is so critical, so important. And the child, it's those mirror neurons also, that the mom is calm. I can handle this. I know what to do. I see your big feelings, how you don't know how to respond to this. You don't know what to do, but I do, and I'm sort of the container for you while you learn about this. And
Yeah.
so it's a huge role for the parents to play.
Yeah.
So
I think she's a star, just like Choco. Choco
yeah.
does he does a great job. He learns and he's the main character, but I think that mom is pretty amazing and how she's handling things too.
Yeah, I like that idea. So this is a game that I created to practice unexpected things. So I played this with a child last week, and it's just different little things like um, um, something happens and what do you do about it? So the two parents and the child and I were all playing the game, and it was really fun because just like you and I are talking here, you have ideas and thoughts that I haven't had or haven't thought to bring out. And same with sharing ideas with all the different people's ideas of what would you do in this situation. So I wrote the directions to be like, can you think of a way to solve it? But it can be sharing, and everybody tells us a way that they would solve the problem. And it was really fun for me to do because it's not just, I only have one idea, my idea, but it's what we do in real life. We ask people for their opinions about things, and it helps us make decisions, helps us grow, helps us know, okay, now I know what to do. And so it's the same idea. There are so many ways to solve a problem. And that's what kids don't have the practice. I do that a lot with kids, is try to help them play. I play lots of games of trying to help them. What could you do in this situation? And it's just fun activity to do. You can do it while you're driving in the car. What should we do if this happens on our way to soccer practice today? Or what do you think we should, what do you think so and so will do during the soccer game, the coach will do during the soccer game? Do you think that he'll put you in or she'll put you in as a forward? Do you think they'll put you in? What will you do if you don't get your favorite position to play today? Those kinds of things. And so it helps prepare them. And whether many of these situations I think that I made in the game are very relevant. These are things that I see all the time that come up in my practice. And I think that it's meant to be, kids like doing this. And it just helps kids think, I could solve this problem. Because even if it's just talking about it, I can solve this problem. And then this is just one page from the story where the scene was of an unexpected event that Choco handled. So all of these little activities are meant to be conversation starters, as is the book. And it's also an opportunity to kind of go back and reinforce the incidents that happened. And also just a fun, being an occupational therapist, I'm adding in fine motor activities also for kids to do just by coloring Choco. But again, it's the repetition, the reinforcement of the messages. And what I see, what I ask kids with all the books that I've written, I ask them, would you like to be like Choco in this story, or Seymour in another story, or Joseph in another story? And they always say, yes, I'd like to be that way. So there's a lot of power in the books for adults to use to help kids. Like, what did Choco do? What do you think Choco would do? Could you be like Choco? And they want to be like that. Every kid wants to be able to know how to do things that are going to make life easier for themselves, but also be easier, well, just easier for themselves. That's what they're looking for, because they're so kind of self-centered, understandably and appropriately. But what I'm looking for them to see is things go better for them generally when they are able to handle challenges like Choco's challenges. And then this is, again, just another fine motor activity, drawing Choco, and you can make it with different things in the background, and then color it. So actually, out of all the books that I've written, this is the one that probably has the most cognitive effort required in it to think through. And it's also the most powerful because it's really digging into emotions in a lot of different ways. And with all the social emotional learning that's going on in schools now, especially since COVID, and awareness on the part of parents that I'm working with, and little programs that are in the schools to try to help kids. This is really timely and relevant to what kids are actually experiencing. So the idea is to kind of have a if this, then this plan. So if X happens, then I can handle it just like Choco by doing one of these strategies here. So these are the ones I mentioned earlier today, and they are ones that I think, like, I'm sure that there are more than this, but these are the ones that basically came up with Choco. Do you have other ones that came up when you were reading, Lori? Ones you've used with kids?
I think maybe I think in one way or another it kind of all crosses over, but like the deep breathing or some
Yeah.
counting, things like that.
Deep
Yeah.
breathing, and what did you say?
Or counting, sort of
Counting.
giving
Yeah.
yourself a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Um,
Blowing bubbles. I
oh,
mean, there's a whole bunch of other things too. Yeah.
yeah, talking about it ahead of time,
Previewing. Yeah.
debr debriefing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to be learned after the fact too, even if it didn't
yeah,
go well.
right.
And then this one, again, sort of a heavy cognitive load, but it's pages from the book. And these are, the child can pair up the scenario with the strategy so that they can see the application of the strategy in real life. So you could go either from the picture to the strategy, or from the strategy to the picture, or both ways, of course. I've made it easy for the adults reading to see that number one, get used to something new, is the first picture there with the fish swimming fast, the barracuda swimming fast, getting used to something new, learning about it. They don't like to eat us. It's fine. You don't have to worry about them. They're not interested in us. And they will swim around, and that's what they're doing. And we're just going to chill, and it's all okay. It's most kids, I think, believe their parents when they say things like that. And they can relax because they really do trust their parents are telling them that that is true, and that they really can relax in that setting, in that situation. And then this is just a little maze, super easy to do, of course. But the point of it is to talk about the story. First, he ran up against the barracudas, and then he had the the upset about the gift, and it goes through all the different scenarios. So again, just another opportunity for parent and child, therapist and child, whoever, teacher and classroom, to talk about the journey he took and how he grew from the first incident to with the barracudas all the way to the end with solving the broken gift himself and still being able to have fun. And then this one is, again, I'm trying to really teach a lot about emotions in lots of different ways. And so, again, using the pictures to help, them using the story to help, Choco felt all these different ways. For example, if the answers were upside down, but he felt scared when he saw fast swimming barracudas. And so it's trying to introduce some vocabulary that children maybe don't understand, but through a story, kids maybe can learn a word rather than just a definition. Through story, they can learn, oh, yeah, and then parents and child can talk about a time when they were scared or a time when they felt like Choco. Because sometimes kids, I mean, don't know the vocabulary. And one of the other activities I've created like this one, Choco learned the barracudas would not hurt him. Oh, he felt relieved. So a lot of kids might not know what that word means, but this is an opportunity to talk about that. And what would that face look like? So you get a chance to draw a picture of Choco. It's bigger in real life when you print it out, of course. What would that face look like? And put a mirror up and think about, like, does that look like a relieved face? Or mostly people kind of, when they feel like, oh, that was a close call, like talking about those kinds of things and then bringing up situations children have, or when they come home from school and they say, X happened to me at school today. If a parent can relate it to Choco incident, say, oh, is it sort of like, are you feeling sort of like what Choco felt like when he missed out on his favorite treats at the birthday party? So again, just trying to help them learn. Most kids know the word proud and excited, of course, but they're not terribly high level vocabulary words, but they are everyday vocabulary words.
Yeah, I really, really like this one because one, it can be just a challenge in general to talk about those feelings, to find that calm and focus to kind of describe what you're feeling, but not just talking about them, but then putting a name on that feeling. And I think it really helps connect those two things and gives that kind of healthy forum. And I like the way it kind of comes back to story as the foundation for building that discussion. I think
Oh,
this activity in particular is really well done.
oh, thank you, Laurie. Yeah, I think it really, really matters to have the story behind it for kids. And it's also interesting because I can bring up a story that I've read to a kid months ago and say, oh, remember in the story? And they do, and they remember everything. So they're very memorable. Books are memorable. And there's messages in the books. And we have to extract, as adults, to extract the key messages from them and help the kids learn from the books, not just read it and put it down and say goodnight.
Right, right.
There's a lot of value in that was been my point in the books, of course, but also in children's books in general, of course. And then here are ideas about what adults can do to help support children and in unexpected situations. So there's a couple of pages of these here of ideas, all depending on age of the child and so forth, developmental level. But these are all ways to help, in addition to just reading a story, of course, but read lots of different kinds of stories and look for those messages in the stories that are common. And there were a couple on here that I wanted to point out a little bit more of my thinking. But Laurie, how about you? What did you like here on this page or the next page?
Trying to recall exactly. Sorry, like on the spot here.
I can make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, a little bigger is good. Go ahead and point out what, yeah, go ahead and point out
Okay,
what
sure.
your thoughts were while I'm trying to kind of get
Yeah,
a
that's okay.
recall on mine. Yeah.
So I think that role playing is great. I do it all the time. It keeps kids engaged. It's much more meaningful than just talking about it. And actually, I did something in my social skills groups on Saturday. I had two of the kids who are quite capable of helping me with this job demonstrate just how to do a greeting. Like, you don't get too close to somebody, you look at them, you stand with your bodies looking at each other. Very short, like 10 seconds at the most. But that's like to show to a child who doesn't know how to do that. And even if it's a child who basically has the skills but is missing some aspect of it, here's a little short video to talk about. And so I often suggest that parents videotape kids being successful doing something, or sometimes I've videotaped little scenarios that we've acted out so that they can review them at home, or have little videos before, like, what all do I have to do before to get ready for soccer? Oh, I need to do these 3 things. And it's very clearly, like, instead of a visual schedule of something, it's a video, because kids are so visual. And so just step 1, step 2, step 3, and then they could still follow along on their visual schedule as well. That's not a video. So I just think there's a lot of power in videos. And then I always emphasize the problem solving aspect in my stories and really focus on helping kids solve problems themselves, and encourage parents to not tell them what to do because they don't like solve it for them. They might not have any connection to that solution because it's our adult brain and their child brain. And when I offer them the opportunity to solve a problem, they have great ideas, way better than any ideas that I would ever think of anyway.
Sure.
And then on here, I was thinking I like a lot the visual aids, but I kind of already said that. And then humor, like parents can make their kids laugh. And that's so great when they can come up with any way of just kind of deflecting a little bit or adding humor in any way. And that's one way the books also can be used, because they can add in humor too.
I think that's what the connection between like role play and humor is great, and that sometimes we can make sort of light of how something didn't go well at all by being able to laugh at ourselves and kind of play out that moment, and demonstrate when you tripped and fell and you broke that gift in a silly way, and
Yeah.
um, then kind of pull it back together and say, okay, now let's do it the way we wish it would have gone.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, being able to, I think the humor is important, but I love using humor in that role play context as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there could be a lot in that example you just gave.
Yeah.
A lot of fun could come of that. So that's
Yeah.
it for the activities, Laurie.
Oh, wow, that went quick. I think when you're doing them, they're so rich, and in the moment, each one could be there's just many different ways you could use each activity. One of the thoughts I had, and I don't know how much this really came through in the activity, was just that drawing those of Choco, and the idea that kids could kind of say, how do you think he felt in this scenario? And I could imagine that there might be like this red starfish. Maybe he's
Oh,
feeling very frustrated and angry,
yeah.
and sort of what those feelings might look like if we give kids that outlet of expression through drawing and art. And then, let's now talk about Choco and how he did all this, and now can you color him, and can you show me his expression, or what color do you think he'd be? So I think it would be fun for kids with that creative expression through art, and some of those colors and expressions that you might see in Choco.
Oh, that's a really good idea, Laurie. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
And one of the other
yeah,
books I've written, I have a picture of the robot, and the kids can draw the face on the robot in a similar way. And it's great. And I sometimes use it as a check-in, like draw how Robojo looks, and how are you feeling?
right.
Can you show me with Robojo? Yeah, same idea.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think your idea is great because it's a before and after, and they can see, like, they don't have a sense of time either. So to them, it can feel like forever. It's always, it's never, whatever. Waiting for them is really hard. but if they can see that wave changes, they ride the wave a little bit. The beginning is rough. The end of the wave is better. Like you did it, you got through it. And what did you learn from it? And for them to realize that I did get through it. And I think that it's really hard in the moment for them to notice that. But if you had a whole bunch of these old Choco pictures that kids have drawn of before and after, look at all the different times you've gone through a difficult situation, had big feelings, and you ended up okay. And what did you learn from it? I could see a great little visual that I could actually create here, and before and after, and what did you learn from it? And what will you do next time? Would be great.
Right. Yeah, or each little step of the maze, sort of, he feels this way, and then he moves through the maze, and the next part, and he feels this way. But at the end, when he's finished with the maze, he feels great. He had a good time at the party overall. Yeah, everything didn't go as expected, but he was really glad he went. He ended up liking that party favor bag, despite the color of the bag. He got some
Yeah.
really great things in there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think putting it that maze kind of puts the story into a good overall perspective, that you can kind of see on that one page how many different things didn't go the way that Choco had wanted them to go. But we know at the end of the maze that he still had a really great time at the party. And I think that's a great emphasis for kids and for parents. If we're having a hard time because we're on, you know, dealing with all of these things that are happening to the party and kind of guiding our kid through this whole process, and we're thinking, oh no, 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 not this, not this, not this. But if we're able to at the end of the party kind of recognize that, yeah, we're walking away with a smile on our face, we did have a good time. And as parents, we kind of have to realize, yeah, we had a good time too. Overall, this was a win. And so I think the maze is it's, if you kind of turn it sideways, it's a little bit of a roller coaster.
That's a
But
good idea.
I
I like
like the
that.
way that we start from one point and we end in another, and at the end we're still happy for the experience, even though we did experience those challenges along the way.
Yeah, I like your idea of rotating at 90 degrees because, yeah, every day is a roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah. And it, we would love for everything to go as expected every single time. And we would love for only two unexpected versus six unexpected
Yeah.
things. But I think, again, the big picture is that each experience is a learning opportunity. And the more experiences we have, or the more unexpected events, the more learning experiences we had. And at the end, we've not only had a good time at the party, but we've had a really great opportunity to help teach these coping skills and how to kind of roll with it. And it's a good thing when our kids learn these real life experiences, and we're there to kind of coach them through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Great way to summarize it, Laurie. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
appreciate so much that you were here to do this with me today. It was really fun.
Well, thank you so much for these books. I've liked the others, and I especially love this one. And I think they have a great place. I think about some of the other things that our kids are exposed to, and books, media, even children's television shows. And um, it's nice to find something that is really leading them in the right direction. It's a good example, and it gives us a platform for talking with kids about things in a positive way. And I like the reality of it, but also the usefulness of it. And I appreciate your tackling the subject matter. It's a valuable thing. Thank you so much for what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And
Yeah.
so if people are interested, they can go to my website. It's right here on the screen. And there's videos, more videos of the other books, but there's also a list of all the books that I have written. And so there's, I think, just two or three more still waiting to get published, but otherwise they are just about all of, done and available to purchase on Amazon now. So thank you, Laurie, for again for being here.
Thank you.